What happens when two of the most powerful leaders in the world sit down behind closed doors, and the future of the Middle East hangs in the balance? In a recent high-stakes meeting, U.S. President Donald Trump told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that diplomatic talks with Iran must continue. At a time when tensions in the region remain dangerously high, this message carries enormous global implications. Tonight, we break down what was discussed, why Trump is pushing for diplomacy, what Netanyahu wants instead, and what this could mean for the Middle East and the world. Let's begin. To understand this moment, we need context. For years, Iran's nuclear program has been one of the most controversial issues in global politics. The United States and its allies have long feared that Tehran could move toward developing nuclear weapons capability. Iran, however, maintains that its nuclear program is for peaceful energy purposes. Under the original 2015 nuclear agreement, Iran agreed to strict limits on uranium enrichment in exchange for sanctions relief. But after the U.S. withdrew from that deal during Trump's first presidency, tensions escalated. Sanctions returned. Iran increased enrichment levels. Trust eroded. Fast forward to now, indirect negotiations between the U.S. and Iran have resumed. The goal? Prevent nuclear escalation without triggering another war in the region. But diplomacy in the Middle East is never simple. In their recent White House meeting, Trump and Netanyahu held extensive discussions focused largely on Iran. According to reports, Trump made it clear the United States prefers negotiations over military action. He reportedly insisted that diplomatic channels remain open and that talks with Tehran continue. Trump has publicly stated that while he believes in strength and deterrence, he would rather secure a deal than engage in another prolonged conflict. He emphasized that communication, even with adversaries, is essential when nuclear stakes are involved. However, there was no announcement of a finalized agreement, no breakthrough, no joint declaration of strategy. Instead, what emerged was a subtle but important difference in tone between Washington and Jerusalem. Prime Minister Netanyahu has long taken a harder line on Iran. From Israel's perspective, the threat goes beyond nuclear enrichment. Israeli leadership is deeply concerned about Iran's regional influence, including support for militant groups across Lebanon, Gaza, Syria, and elsewhere. Netanyahu has repeatedly argued that any deal must address not just uranium levels, but also missile development and Iran's regional military footprint. In short, Israel wants a broader agreement, a tougher agreement, one that limits multiple dimensions of Iranian power. Reports suggest that during the meeting, Netanyahu pressed Trump to ensure that any negotiations do not give Iran economic relief without significant security guarantees. This difference in approach doesn't mean division, but it does highlight strategic tension between diplomacy first and pressure first strategies. While talks continue, military positioning remains part of the equation. The United States maintains a significant presence in the Middle East, including naval assets and air capabilities designed to deter escalation. American officials have made clear that all options remain on the table if negotiations fail. Trump himself has previously demonstrated willingness to authorize targeted strikes when red lines were crossed. So, while he is currently emphasizing diplomacy, the possibility of force remains a backdrop. This dual-track strategy, negotiate while maintaining pressure, is not new, but it carries risks. If talks collapse, escalation could happen quickly. The consequences of these negotiations extend far beyond Washington, Tehran, or Jerusalem. A breakdown in talks could destabilize oil markets, raise global energy prices, and trigger regional confrontations. Neighboring countries would likely respond strategically. Alliances could shift. Military tensions could spike. On the other hand, a successful diplomatic outcome could reduce immediate nuclear risks and stabilize the region, at least temporarily. Europe has long supported renewed diplomacy. Gulf nations are balancing relations cautiously, and geopolitical rivals are assessing how this impacts broader power dynamics. In many ways, this isn't just about Iran. It's about the credibility of diplomacy itself, in a world where conflicts are increasingly complex. So what are the possible scenarios? First, negotiations could advance, leading to a limited agreement focused strictly on nuclear constraints. Second, talks could stall if either side demands concessions the other refuses to give. Third, regional events. whether in Lebanon, Gaza, or elsewhere, could derail diplomatic momentum entirely. The coming weeks will be critical. Watch for signals: enrichment levels, sanctions adjustments, military movements, and official statements. Diplomacy is often slow and quiet, until suddenly, it isn't. For now, President Trump has made his position clear. Continue talking. Prime Minister Netanyahu has made his position clear. Ensure strength and strict safeguards. Between those positions lies the delicate balance of modern geopolitics. Whether this moment leads to stability or further tension depends on what happens behind closed doors in the days ahead. One thing is certain: the world is